Greetings, Culture Warriors. This is Jeff Vieira, author of Culture is Everything, and your host for this latest dispatch from the front. Today, I'd like to set the Wayback Machine for you a little bit and tell you a little bit of a story from my professional history that kind of highlights culture and, in a small way, the things you can do that help drive the right culture and the right behavior, even in a very small way. It doesn't have to be all the time the leadership driving it for the entire company. Sometimes local leadership can have a positive impact on culture at a very, down at the where the work's being done kind of level. When I was in high school, I worked for a time at a pizza place, and I'd been, I'd had some experience working in fast food restaurants. Pizza place was a little bit of an upgrade. I think at that point I'd also been a dishwasher in a kind of a full service restaurant. So I had a little bit of experience there. You start out at the pizza place, and the first thing they put you on is kind of washing dishes and cleaning up the restaurant area. So I did that for quite a while. Found it kind of soothing, actually. And I was, making good progress at, really keeping up with the, the peaks in the day and doing stuff like that. To make a little extra money, I would come in when they were closed on the weekend, and I would do the deep clean on the restaurant. They had some brass fixtures, so you go in and polish up the brass fixtures. You clean the ovens. You clean the floors real well. All that. So I was making enough money doing what I was doing for the time I was doing it. I was pretty content with it. I spent probably a little bit longer than most people do. Some people just really hate the cleaning aspect of the job, so they want to get on to making pizza as soon as possible. But that really wasn't me. I had a lot of stress with school and sports already, so I was just looking for a little money in the pocket and as little stress as possible. But there came a day when I wanted to do something different. In this particular restaurant, they had a grill area aside from the pizza area, and the grill area was where they would make the pasta dishes, where they would make the sandwiches, where they would make French fries, that sort of thing. So there's a lot going on. Typically one person in the grill area, maybe they augment with another one when it's super, super busy. But generally speaking, the grill was its own thing. In the pizza area, you just about always had two or more people working together all the time. So the grill area was kind of like almost an oasis, because you just concentrate on the job. Yes, it would get stressful when it got busy, but basically you could just do your thing and crank out orders, and it was a pretty good place to be. So I set my sights on becoming a grill boy. They had a grill boy who was a few years older than I was to train me on it, and he kind of taught me the ins and outs of how to do the grill. And one of the things that was really emphasized was the importance of having a clean grill at the end of the night. So as you can imagine, a grill is just a big kind of flat piece of metal. You're constantly pouring oil on it, and you're cooking all the time. This particular restaurant, they would make things like, cheesesteaks. So, the grill, especially if you had a busy night, the grill could get absolutely filthy. It was always a challenge to kind of keep scraping off the grill, keep it clean enough so it worked well. Always a challenge. But what we would do is, as we got towards the end of the night and the orders started to lag off, you would go ahead and, at some point shut down the grill and start cleaning it. That was a major part of the cleaning. And when I say cleaning it, we would restore this grill to where it looked brand new. It would shine at the end of the night, because what would happen is the person would come in the next morning to do their shift, and it said something about the pride that you had in your job and how good you were at your job, that a grill was clean. And if it wasn't clean, you'd certainly hear about it. But it was a point of particular pride we took with closing to make sure that no matter what the night was, that morning crew came in and they didn't have anything to do. We took care of it. And the grill was a big part of that. And it was competitive. We got into many conversations back and forth, arguing with each other over who had the cleanest grill. And it became a real point of argument at some points. How well did you keep up with the orders? How clean did you leave the area when you left it? These were the things that we prided ourselves on, and it led to some unintended negative behaviors. There were times when grill boys on the different shifts and everything wouldn't talk to each other because we're so mad about what had been said previously. There was also a temptation to try and shut down the grill too early. So if you were having a slow night, it could be an hour before closing and somebody want to shut down the grill. And then what do you do when you get an order? Turn away the customer. We don't have that. But it led to some of that behavior as well. The other thing too is when it got busy, and when, generally speaking, when someone would try to come on and help you out, the first reaction of any self-respecting grill boy would be, "No, I don't need it." Or if they do let you help, they let you help on something, kind of ridiculous that wasn't really doing anything to get the overall flow of the orders out. Also, because of the pride that we took in the grill aspect of it, and the fact that we were kind of solo, we're flying solo most of the day, it led to some back and forth with the folks making the pizzas that wasn't always helpful either. One of the key things about working in the grill area was that, generally speaking, what you were making was faster than the pizza ovens, right? You make good pizza even in a big oven. I mean, you're looking at 10 minutes, 15 minutes to cook the pizza. And most of the time at this restaurant, the pasta was kind of pre-cooked and we were just taking it in a water bath and microwaving it, heat it back up. Cheesesteaks and sandwiches, those kind of go pretty fast. About the longest wait you have is the French fries, which is a couple of minutes if you don't. And everything was made to order, so you can kind of count on that. So generally speaking, the grill would be ahead of the pizza orders, and a lot of times customers come in, a family will come in, a couple of people might have pizza, but the rest might want a sandwich or something, or pasta. And so you wanted all the food to come out at the same time. And so it was important to have communication from the folks doing the pizzas to tell you how far out we were from having that pizza. So if I knew, for example, it was going to take me 90 seconds to get the pasta out, I'd want them to tell me 2 minutes out that it was coming. We're managing the workflow via these tickets, tickets that go to the grill area, tickets that go to the pizza area, and they're linked by the same order number so they come out on the right tray. And you're trying to manage your queue effectively. You can't just do whatever comes first. You have to consider what else is in the order. If somebody just came in and ordered a sandwich and some fries, well, that would sail right through. It didn't really matter where it fit in the queue. If it was that quick of an order, it would generally kind of go to the front of the line. And so we have this whole rack where you put these paper tickets up, and you'd be constantly shifting orders in that rack based on when things needed to be done. So that communication was important. And if the pizza folks either started falling behind, or they started goofing around, or they made a mistake and had to redo a pizza, which sometimes happened. They're reaching in there with the paddles. You get some of the wet stuff on the paddle, and it's hard to, you go to grab the pizza, and then it becomes really deformed. And at this particular restaurant, they wouldn't put it out there if it didn't have the nice round shape on it. It wasn't going out. So sometimes, this would get screwed up. And, you've got a couple of people over on the other side kind of talking, smoking, and joking while they're going through this stuff. They make a mistake and you're flying solo at a busy time as a grill boy. Man, it would make you mad. And so you get some dysfunctional behavior going back and forth with the guys doing the pizza. And generally speaking, the senior person on the shift, the manager, would be one of the people making the pizzas. That was an area in the layout of the restaurant where they could kind of see everything. It made it easy for them to jump off and take a customer at the register if they had to, or solve a problem. And so there was also a tension there where, very rarely was the manager manning the grill area. It happened sometimes, but wasn't a common thing. And so in building the culture of these roles, it's important to consider how the whole team has to operate, because in the end, the customer experience is going to be dictated by getting that food out on time. In our case, the areas were semi-open. You could kind of see what people were doing. The pizza station, they had a pretty good view of from the register. There was a little bit of separation from the grill area, but you could see the grill person back there kind of slinging their stuff around. And so there were some optics too, is, if everyone's angry at each other and they're not talking and they're just slamming things around back there, it's not a good look for the restaurant. And so what we wanted to see on every shift for every customer was basically smiling, happy people in control of what they're doing, with enough respect for each other to, kind of keep things clean, keep the environment in a, kind of a happy place, and put out great food on time. That was always the aim. So building in these little competitive elements, not only did it make the night go faster, but it inspired us to be constantly trying to improve the ways we were doing things. You would pick up little tricks on how to do things. Like one of the first things you learn was not to just do all the cooking and then do all the cleaning. In lean terms, we'd say that the batch size was too big for those things. It was very inefficient. What you would do instead was find little ways that you could do a quick clean on the area after every single order. You got a little spritz bottle there. You use that, wipe down the stainless steel in between. You'll have a little wet towel that you could use in between. So if you just get a little spatter from the red sauce when you're doing the pasta, just wipe it off real quick with your little towel, and you're good to go. You would scrape the grill in between. So I go do an order, I put it on there, and then once I get back to the grill, bam, give the grill a good scrape, get the material off of it so that the grill surface was even. And then, I might do a minor clean of the grill surface with a little bit of oil, every so often, every hour, every 2 hours, just to make it easier to get the stuck on grease off at the end of the night. Changing the fry oil was always a big deal. You had to kind of pick your spot on that. So you'd want to wait until the meal rush had kind of died down, and then, find a good window where there was nobody coming in. You knew you were going to be covered for a little while, and then you would never. We had 2 bays for the friolators, so you would shut down one, so you still had one if someone came in and they needed fries or onion rings or whatever, and you would clean the other one. Dishes was another thing. Dishes, sometimes we had people who were there doing them, and sometimes you didn't. So you might have to run over and do some dishes just to keep yourself fed. You need something to put the food you were preparing on, and so every so often you just kind of fall into a workflow. You keep an eye on, and you see the dishes start backing up. Okay, I'm going to get over there. I'm going to hammer out a couple of dishes. Good, boom, keep it going. And later in my career, I realized that it was all about maintaining your flow. And the advantage of an experienced grill person and experienced pizza counter was that they would keep the flow up. Everyone would be working steadily when there were orders on the board, and when there weren't, they would be doing their maintenance kind of activities. so that the closing went faster at the end of the night. And then we'd all get out of there at a reasonable time, and things would be great. But what was funny in the culture that was kind of developed at that place was just how much we became invested in how things went. So it could be a real downer if it was a bad night. So if you just got absolutely slammed, if you ever had to leave anything for the next shift, it was just absolutely painful because you knew the crap you were going to take. But you felt bad. You felt like you let the side down by not being able to keep up with it. And, so much of it was still, even though it was a customer-facing role, so much of our perception of the job we were doing wasn't really tied to the customer service as much as it was to, did we do our part of the operation well? Just like any, person working in a factory might. We focus in on our part of the process and making it as great as it could be. And then sometimes you would drop the ball on the overall customer experience, even though literally in our case it was sitting there, staring us in the face most of the night. So you would lose sight of the things like, hey, when you're out there cleaning the tables, you're kind of the house person, right? You're of the restaurant. So, asking people if they enjoyed their food, that sort of thing. Stuff that the manager would do was not something that we would do. And boy, if you were a grill boy and you got sent out to clean out those tables because we were short, man, you didn't want to be out there. All you were thinking about was getting back to the grill. And I saw folks get kind of surly with customers from time to time just because they asked a question. So it's just remarkable that even though the purpose of that restaurant was kind of staring us in the face, we had so suboptimized the culture that we didn't really connect fully at our level to that purpose the way we should. Part of that too was also because a lot of the measures that were used to evaluate how the restaurant was doing, it wasn't really shared with us. It was the province of the manager, and that was stuff that was just not obvious to us. And yet that was very important because if the restaurant's doing well, if we're turning tables, if we're making money, well, we all benefit from that. And yet that wasn't at the time very clear. We were just kind of hired hands doing what we did, and we just really focused operationally. So what are the takeaways from that long-winded story from long ago for you? Number one is you do not have to be the senior leadership team of a company to impact the culture. You can do things within your sphere of influence that will positively impact the culture. Somebody at some point before my tenure there had really started to build up the competitive aspect of it. And for the most part, that was a net positive. It inspired pride in the job, and it got us to strive to improve, which are very important things. But it probably would have been better if the purpose was more clearly stated and reinforced, if the metrics were in place so that it wasn't so anecdotal, so that we could actually see, hey, how long did it take you from the time you started the closing checklist until the time you completed it? Hey, what time did you shut things down? Did you have it open to the last minute so it was there for the customer? And then you managed to, because you'd been maintaining things so well all night, you managed to keep your closing to a minimum as well. We didn't really have those kind of things easy to hand at the time. And that's something that in your areas you should strive for. Even if you're working in an office environment, count things. It helps you know how you're doing. It helps you, and it makes the day a little more of a game, a little more fun. And it also gives you ammunition, so when you want to go in and talk to your boss about a raise or increasing your responsibility or whatever, you can actually show them, hey, when I started, this was here, and now I've gotten it to this level. So that should result in some reward. And don't be afraid. A lot of the things we talk about with regard to culture start out at kind of the cosmic level. We talk about customer focus, and it's like, it's a big abstract concept, right? And you only, in these roles, sometimes you only control a small part, a small sliver of that overall experience. So what do you do then? Well, you do things like you say, smile, don't get angry, don't storm out. Man, nothing is more common in restaurants than people getting ticked off and storming out the back door, just in the middle of whatever. So, avoiding those kind of behaviors is helpful when you go out into the area. Ask people how they're doing. Ask people how they're enjoying themselves. Is there anything you can do for them? Those little kind of things are what really demonstrate culture focus. They're the behaviors that underlie the values. And by showing them, we can, we get better. In a lot of these environments, of course, schedules are, always a topic of conversation. Everybody always would love to have the weekends off if they could, and it's very rarely possible. So you can demonstrate integrity and collaboration and teamwork in how you approach the schedule. Are you flexible, or are you demanding that, hey, this is my schedule and this is the only schedule I can have and that's it? Do you cover for somebody? Somebody gets sick, somebody has a wedding or something. Will you cover for them? Take a shift that you wouldn't ordinarily take in order to help them out. That culture has to permeate down to all levels of our team if it's going to be lived. And we all have a part in living our culture. Because at the end of the day, good days and bad days come and go. But culture is everything. Have a great day.